They're not at any great risk. There's quite a few of them around. In fact, if you go into the Adelaide Hills and Fleurieu Peninsula, you might come across some in the wild, some that have escaped from private holdings. Now, if you look at the right in the middle there, those wonderful antlers. Now, these animals were once extinct in the wild, but as I said, we're about conservation. The wild, but we did have some here at Monarto, and we sent, I think it was about 7 or so, to the Gobi Desert, other zoos around the world. And wild horse, they're very difficult to tame. So I don't think we're going to see one of these running down the main straight of Flemington anytime soon. And they're very territorial. And this is, as I said, the smaller of our 2 rhinos.
This is the smaller one?
This is the smaller one, yep. So this boy is about 1.3 tonne. And if you look at his face, he's got a very V-shaped mouth. In the wild, he usually feeds with his heads up. We call him a heads-up feeder. And by that I mean he goes to trees and shrubs and strips along with that prehensile top lip and strips the leaves off to feed. Whereas the white rhino that we'll see a little bit further on, considerably larger. The white rhino is about 2.4 tonne for the bull, and has a very wide mouth, and they feed along the ground much like a cow. But as I said, critically endangered in the wild, we're losing them at such an alarming rate. So it's very, very important for us to look after these wonderful, wonderful animals. Or the buck, also known as the black buck. And this male, he's in charge of this whole group. He's the main man. A lot of his offspring there. You can see there's another couple of males, younger males. They will try to challenge him. But certainly he's in control. And he's been quite busy if you look at how many young ones there are. So the Indian antelope, or the black buck, as the name suggests, come from the Indian subcontinent. There we go, he's just ducked his head down so you can see those spirally horns. And a few more on the right hand side. We do have another species in here. You'll see the Mesopotamian fallow here. Just under the trees there. So the Mesopotamian fallow deer come from areas like Iran, Iraq, Syria, and it's really, really difficult for us to know how many of these animals there are left in the wild, because obviously in those countries there's been a lot of conflict. So when there's human conflict, it really does affect the animals as well. So that's why it's so important. And we've got some ostrich as well. So these animals directly in front of us are eland. They're an antelope from Africa. They're not at any great risk in the wild. They're extensively farmed, and they're farmed for their milk and their meat. Interestingly, their milk stays good without refrigeration for up to about 3 days. So a pretty important product for people in areas of Africa that don't have access to electricity. Obviously everyone's interested in the wonderful giraffe. Very, very tall animals, up to 5 metres for females and 6 metres for males. And when a young one is born, it's about 1.8 metres.
Oh, that's a close shot.
Have a look at the tongue when they're eating. It's a dark colour, up to about 40 odd centimetres in length. They use it to strip browse of leaves and so forth, but obviously they're liking the lucerne hay there. It's a dark blue colour, and the reason it's that dark colour is because it spends so much time out of the animal's mouth. If it wasn't a dark colour, it would get sunburned. So wonderful adaptation of nature. Just like the eland here, if you look on their throat, you see that tuft That's a dewlap, another one of those adaptations of nature. A lot of blood vessels running through that. When it gets hot, the breeze blows it over it and cools.
Lone ostrich running there.
Yes, those two.
Look at the ostrich.
If you look at the giraffe closely, you'll have a look at their coat pattern. You'll see that each coat pattern is different. The keepers are quite good at being able to tell them all apart just by looking at their coat pattern. The other way, worms or their ossicones, they're quite different. So you'll see a small bachelor group of Chapman zebra. Chapman zebra are one of a number of subspecies. And if you look closely at the rear end, you'll see that they do have that black stripe, the white stripe, and also that shadow stripe.